Today we're boldly going where no man has gone before. Wait, no. Man has gone there. We're going to the International Space Station, but with sarcasm. Welcome to the Goodish news channel. I'm Ashley, your professional pessimist. In an effort to be more optimistic, I'm bringing you news stories that won't fill you with existential dread. Things are very unserious around here, so if that's your thing, you're in the right place. Today we're tackling the age-old question: is the International Space Station too clean? Astronauts aboard the ISS routinely wipe down and disinfect surfaces, vacuum, change out filters, clean the bathrooms and kitchens, and perform a deep clean every Saturday. Think of it like when you were a kid and your mom made you deep clean the entire house just because the neighbor was stopping by to return a dish. You know, just in case they decided to inspect the kitchen, the bathroom, and maybe even ask to borrow a screwdriver from the garage. Yeah. It's that kind of clean on the ISS. But here's the plot twist. A new study is suggesting that all that hyper-cleanliness might actually be messing with the astronauts' health. Despite every measure to keep the International Space Station spotless, astronauts are still experiencing immune dysfunction, skin rashes, and other inflammatory conditions. For this study, astronauts collected 803 surface swabs from all over the ISS: the kitchen, bathroom, dining area, everywhere where astronauts spend their time. They then sent the samples to a team at the University of California, San Diego, so they could analyze the diversity of the microbiome of the ISS. And what did they find? Well, not much. Basically, the only microbes up there are the ones the astronauts brought with them. The majority came from humans and building materials. Less than 0.3% were from natural environmental sources like soil and water. So what's the big deal? Why does it matter if the ISS has fewer microbes than your aggressively Lysoled iPhone? Our bodies need a diverse range of microbes to keep everything running smoothly. A study from 2016 found that Amish children were less likely to suffer from asthma due to their households containing more dust and microbes from farm animals. Microbes are all over the outside and inside of our bodies. I realize that sounds gross, but stick with me. These microbes are continually fighting for resources, so by having a diverse range of them keeps any one type from taking over another, which keeps everything in check. It's like a microbial wrestling match where no one bug can get too powerful, but when things get too sterile, it's like a hostile takeover. An extreme example of this is C. diff. C. diff is a bacteria that is naturally occurring in the environment and in some people's intestinal tract. It's usually kept in check by other forms of bacteria, but let's say your doctor puts you on a round of antibiotics for a sinus infection. The medication will kill the bacteria causing your persistent congestion, but it also kills good bacteria in your gut. This then gives the C. diff bacteria the perfect opportunity to grow out of control. Then you wind up with severe issues in the lower digestive tract. In severe cases, you can wind up in isolation in the hospital, or you can even die, and no one wants to die by poop. All this to say, a diverse microbiome is pretty important. So what's the solution to a happy medium on the ISS? Astronauts can't exactly go outside to milk a cow and track the dirt back in like the Amish. Scientists will need to figure out how they can bring more good germs into the astronauts' environment. Peter Dorstein, a chemical biologist from the UC San Diego team, suggests bringing animals on board the ISS and stocking the pantry with fermented foods. It's important to have a balanced microbiome, especially as NASA eyes future longer-term missions. So the next time you're feeling guilty about the cleanliness of your house, just remember that there is such a thing as too clean.
Be a man and rub some dirt in it.
You've heard of Paw Patrol, but have you heard of its much less annoying and much cuter Icelandic counterpart, Puffling Patrol? Don't worry. Neither had I. On the island of Heimaey, a community-led team called the Puffling Patrol has made it their duty to save the lives of baby puffins. But why do they need saving? Because they have the navigational sense of Michael Scott.
Over the bridge and hook up with 307.
Make a right
Maybe it's
turn.
a shortcut, Dwight. It said go to the right.
It can't mean that. There's a lake there.
I think it knows where it is going.
This is the
the
lake.
machine
This
knows.
is the lake.
Stop yelling at me.
No, it's
Stop
up there.
yelling.
There's no lake.
Once a puffling is hatched, it's cared for by its parents for about 6 weeks. After that, they decide to do what all their friends are doing and jump off a cliff. But don't worry, that's what they're supposed to do. Fledglings leave the nest in the dark of night to hide from predators with big plans to live their lives out at sea. They use the moon to navigate where they're going. At least, that's the plan. Thanks to artificial lights from the town, the young birds can become disoriented and lose their way. It's well documented that light pollution can affect the migratory patterns of birds. Lost and disoriented, the puffins risk being eaten, hit by cars, or just straight up starving to death because they can't find food. That's when the good citizens of Heimaey assemble. Puffling season lasts about 4 to 5 weeks. During that time, members of the Puffling Patrol scour the island at night looking for lost fledglings. It's a full-on search and rescue mission, except instead of saving hikers off a mountain, they're scooping up tiny, confused birds. Luckily, puffins are excellent swimmers, but terrible flyers, so catching them isn't too hard. Once caught, the birds are weighed and logged on the Puffling Patrol website. The birds are then brought to the island's cliffs and given a second chance at takeoff. During the 2024 fledgling season, the Puffling Patrol rescued around 4,200 birds. Puffins spend most of their lives at sea. They survive mainly on fish and will dive up to 60 meters to catch their favorite meal. They often live up to 20 years and return to the same nest and the same partner every year. Puffins out here making humans look bad. Mating pairs only have one egg a year, and as you might have guessed, the species is endangered. Thanks to the Puffling Patrol, these half penguin, half toucan Sam knockoffs have a second chance at life, even if they still have no idea where they're going.
You're going the wrong way!
You know that moment when someone from your past randomly pops up in your life? Maybe an old friend, a former classmate, your prom date from 35 years ago offering you a kidney? Well, meet Sean and Elena. 35 years ago, they went to prom together. They weren't high school sweethearts. They weren't even really a couple. They went to one dance together. After the two went off to college, they lost contact with each other. Back in high school, Sean was pretty popular. President of the student council, voted most likely to succeed, but even he got dumped by his date right before prom. Makes you feel a little better about your own high school romantic failures, huh? Luckily for Sean, Elena, a friend of a friend, agreed to go with him as a backup. After high school, their lives took them in different directions. But remember that whole friend of a friend thing? Well, that came into play again 35 years later when Sean, who was stuck on dialysis, needed a kidney transplant. Sean and Elena's mutual friend Julie had let Elena know about Sean's need for a kidney. He had received 2 kidneys in the past, but unfortunately, donated kidneys often don't last a terribly long time. Meanwhile, Elena, a health and wellness enthusiast, had been considering donating a kidney to someone in need. Unfortunately, she wasn't a match for Sean, but that wasn't really all that important. Here's where something called a paired exchange program comes into play. This program works by finding a match for a willing donor, and in return, your loved one is given priority on the transplant list. Elena's kidney went to someone else in need, and in return, Sean was bumped up to the top of the transplant list. Not long after Elena was approved as a donor and entered into the exchange program, a match was made for her kidney. Soon after that, Sean was also matched and received a life-saving transplant. It's pretty cool when your backup prom date saves you from more than just high school social humiliation. If you're looking for more good news in your life, be sure to check out my video from last week where I discuss why mummies actually smell good. Yeah, a possum that couldn't resist a chocolate mousse cake, and a new method for early pancreatic cancer detection. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and we can ignore all the bad news together.